Hello and welcome back to the Football Diary podcast, where we're going to have a bit of a deep dive now on Arsenal. And I'm joined by Don, an Arsenal fan. The first question I've got for you, Don, really is Arsenal fans have got a bit of a reputation on YouTube already. I want to know, are you more of a tie, more of a troops kind of guy, or you're looking to reinvent it for yourself?
Tie or troops, goodness me, that's not much of a choice that you presented me with there. Actually, I'm gonna go for Ty. Ty's a decent guy. He's all right. Yeah, bit of a mischief maker, but there you go.
Okay, well, we'll see whether you're the same. Let's start by looking at Arsenal then, because last season was an interesting one. It's not one that a lot of people may have expected from a neutral standpoint. But as an Arsenal fan, you've had
Yep.
some time over the summer now to think back to last season. There's obviously a bit of disappointment on missing out on the title, but how do you reflect on last season? Was that a successful season for Arsenal?
Okay, look, we missed out on the Premiership, but I think if you'd have asked any Arsenal fan at the start of the season, would you be happy having led the season for the time that we did, and to get second place quite comfortably, and to have achieved what we had over the season? I think anyone would have taken that. So I think overall you have to look at that. And judge the team by by that standpoint itself. Really, I think we did excellent. Okay, we came up short, and there are specific reasons. I don't know if you want to go on to those, but the specific reasons why we came up short. But when you think we were competing with, in my opinion, the best team in the world, and we've made a really good account for ourselves in that, with a manager who it's essentially his first job in top line football, and again, look at what he's achieved. So overall, yeah, I've got no issues at all with what we've done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even taking league position aside from it, you also had a season of real development for some of your players as well. We're now looking at Bukayo Saka and Martinelli as two of the best wingers in world football. So is that something that has come directly from Arteta, do you think? Do you think the players have been well coached and developed to a standard that they would have normally progressed to, or is that from Arteta's game?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I mean, those guys, they're football prodigies, really. Those guys, they are. I suppose you could. I'm probably not doing Arsenal any favours in saying this, but you have to admit it. If they were in any side, they'd be absolutely amazing footballers. So I don't think anyone would dispute that. But I do think you have to um, give some credit and some respect to Arteta because um, again, it's his first big job. Taking on a job like the manager of Arsenal as your first big job in football, and to have managed the team through the clear out in the way that he did, getting rid of Aubameyang and all of that. Having done that and have achieved that successfully,
Mm.
and then he's even got people like Eddie Nketiah playing really,
Yeah,
really well
yeah.
in the opportunities. He's not the complete player, but you have to look at the way in which Arteta has developed those players and give him credit for that. I think he's been fantastic.
Absolutely. And that rebuild that you touched on has continued over this summer as well. So we're looking at the introductions of Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, Yuri Timber, who sadly now has picked up an ACL injury and it
Yeah,
looks like he's going to be out for
yeah,
most of the season, which is a shame. And
that's a real
David
shame.
David Raya looks close as well. Are you happy with the summer transfer business? Do Arsenal need more, do you think?
No, I think on balance I am, yeah. Some might argue that we could have done with a bit more strength up top as well. Can we rely on the likes of Nketiah and Jesus as well? Because I do think those guys can add more goals to their game. But having said that, I think if you look at the whole strength of the side generally, more generally, and also you've got the other option of playing Havertz up top as well. So, we've got more options, is what I'm trying to say. And I think there's plenty of places right across the attacking, 4 or 5 players where we can score goals.
Mm.
And I think we've proven, I can't remember the stat, but I think we're probably one of the best teams in terms of being able to score right across the squad, really. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
Mm.
again, you've got to give Arteta a lot of respect for having achieved that.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because last season's obviously informed your transfer plans as it would for any club, but I think it's also enabled you to kick on with who you could bring in. So Declan Rice was one of the best midfielders in the Premier League for the last couple of years. It was known that he was going to move on from West Ham eventually, but I wonder how many people had expected him to end up at Arsenal 12 months ago. So the fact that you've reached that level now, does that show you kind of what your level is for this coming season as well? Is your recruitment kind of informed
Yeah,
your expectations?
yeah. I mean, I was looking at some. Come on to Rice in a minute, but I was looking at some of videos of Havertz when he was at Leverkusen,
Mm.
and he was an absolute amazing player. And
Mm.
unfortunately, it dropped off when he went to Chelsea. But he's still a quality player,
Mm.
and he's chosen Arsenal to come to and try and develop, his game even further. And again, I think that goes back to Arteta. So you've got him, you've got Rice. Well, look at what Rice has achieved at West Ham. I think that speaks for himself, for itself. But now he's coming to the Arsenal side. He's going to have to almost reinvent himself as a player
Mm.
because he won't be, the number one focal point as he was at West Ham. So he's now going to have to kick on and work out how he can develop his career and his playing style in a team of almost superstars, you can say. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, the fact that Arsenal have been able to attract him because he would have had lots and lots of choices, I am sure, to go to a lot of the top teams in world football, but
Mm.
he chose Arsenal.
Mm.
So that says a lot about where we've come, what we've achieved so far, and where we plan to go as a side. So, bit of a shaky start at the moment because it's only early days. So you have to find your feet and find your position in the team, as I said earlier. But I'm full of positivity really because he's not only a talented player. I think up top as well, he's a really mature player. He
Mm.
knows what he wants to do. He has a firm plan, and I think he's going to slot in quite well at Arsenal.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we've started to see some of that already. Obviously, Arsenal's season started slightly earlier than most with a Community Shield win. So, a bit of silverware, it's always nice. Where whatever you kind of consider the Community Shield, you'd always rather win it than not win it. And then
Oh
you've
yeah,
you
yeah,
started the season with a win against Nottingham Forest as well, a fixture that might haunt Arsenal fans a little bit from the back end of last season. It was the game that kind of officially awarded Man City the title. But
yeah.
opening day win, what did you make of the performance? Is it something that you're happy with?
Bit of a shaky start. I thought I mean, in the game, we were fantastic in the
Mm.
first half, and it was a return to some of Arsenal's problems of old or its challenges of old, where we don't see games out. I thought we could have probably won quite easily, given the form in the first half, 3 or 4 nil, without
Mm.
any issues at all. But for some reason in the second half, we dropped off in our form.
Mm.
And I think that is going to be a huge challenge for Arsenal going forward because the likes of your Man Cities, uh, you know, forgive me mentioning this, Newcastle, or if, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I
Had to
didn't
get
mean
that
it
in
that
there.
way. But but no, what I'm
Mm.
trying to say is when you look at those sides, they're ruthless from
Mhm.
beginning to end. And for some reason, for quite some years now, Arsenal have got this tendency to just relax ourselves in the second half,
Mm.
and it's a really bad habit.
Mm.
And somehow we need to find some way to change our football, the
Mm.
dynamic of our football, so that when we are battering teams in the first half, we continue to do that comfortably in the second
Mm.
half. So that was my one take from the Nottingham Forest game. But again, we've got a new squad in many ways. New players in in important key roles. So that's not going to happen in 5 minutes. It's going to take a bit of time, and I'm sure Arteta's working on that with the squad going forward.
So that brings me on nicely then to ask what is the aim for this season? Because second to Man City last season, it's an incredible achievement. You've now got the Champions League again to contend with. So what's a successful season for Arsenal this year, and where do you see them
Yeah,
finishing?
okay. Well, I like to think we can come out of this season with at least some silverware
Hmm.
of some kind. I think we've got to target winning the Premiership, but I'm under no illusions of what the challenge is going to be. Um, Having said that, I was having a conversation with another family member about who's going to be in the first maybe five or six standings. and I put down Arsenal for second place. But I'm a little bit cautious from that point of view anyway. But I think we've got to be thinking that we can challenge this season for the Premier League title. We have to be thinking that, but I don't want to be under any illusion to think it's going to be, as easy it was as easy. Well, it wasn't easy last season, but to make that challenge for as long as we did last season, it's going to be as easy as that. I'm not too sure. So maybe first place or second place.
And what about the Champions League? Where do you see yourselves in that? Do you think that's a competition you can progress well in?
Yeah, good question. For some reason, I thought you were going to ask me that, actually. Champions League, got to progress well in that. I'd like to see us getting at least to the quarterfinals, maybe the semi-finals. We have got a very good squad. If you go back to last season, the issue we had was that our first 11 or maybe 12, 13 players were absolutely fantastic. And then there was a big drop off once you got beyond that first 13. Now we've got really decent players, in all positions. You've got two options in all positions across the park, and hopefully if Ray comes in, for goalkeeper, that's going to complete that. So Arteta has done a sterling job, and Adu, of course, a sterling job of preparing the team for the challenges coming forward, both in the Premier League title, but also in the Champions League. So I think we have to be targeting to have some level of success in both of those, trophies, effectively.
Well, I think some Arsenal fans are celebrating the fact that Harry Kane won't be in the North London derby a little bit too soon, when you consider that Bayern Munich have always been Arsenal's bogey team in the Champions League, and now they've got that extra added problem. But it'll be an interesting season
and
for Arsenal.
Congratulations to him, by the way. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, I'm sure
he had
you're
a
very
great
happy
start
with it.
to his life at Bayern. yeah, absolutely.
Taking the hoodoo with him.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me on this. I'm sure we'll speak again about Arsenal's progress. If you are an Arsenal fan intrigued by the progress that your team will make this season, we'll continue talking about it all year. So please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining me, Don. I'm sure we'll speak again.
No worries. Yeah, we'll do. Thanks very much. Cheers. See you soon.